Elon Musk stepped onto the stage, facing Ethan Bradley, the renowned host known for his provocative interviews. Bradley had a reputation for making CEOs and politicians stumble and lose control on live television. He thought today would be no different. But Musk was no ordinary guest. As the conversation grew tense, a single remark from Musk silenced the entire room. What did he say? How did he turn a media attack into a moment that changed everything? Watch until the end, because this is the interview they don't want you to see. Elon Musk received an email from the production team of the Ethan Bradley show. The subject line was brief: exclusive interview invitation. At first, he skimmed past it like countless other invitations: talk shows, tech conferences, media events. But when he saw the name Ethan Bradley, he paused. Bradley wasn't just another talk show host. He was a master of public perception, infamous for his provocative interviews that pushed guests into uncomfortable corners, exposing their vulnerabilities on live television. CEOs, politicians, A-list celebrities, no one had escaped his piercing questions. Some tried to joke their way out, others fought back aggressively, but most lost control in front of the cameras. Musk scanned through the email. Bradley's team invited him for an open discussion about technology, power, and the future of humanity. Open, Musk smirked. He knew this wouldn't be a normal conversation. I think you should do it, Musk's assistant said, noticing him lingering on the email longer than usual. The Ethan Bradley show has millions of viewers. If you don't go, people will think you're avoiding him. Musk leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers on the desk. He wasn't afraid of interviews, nor of difficult questions. But he knew Bradley's type: manipulative, a media tactician who could turn the harmless into a full-blown PR storm. Set it up, Musk said, eyes still fixed on the screen. That day, Musk's Tesla Model X glided smoothly into the studio's private entrance. The glass skyscrapers of Los Angeles gleamed under the sun as fans and reporters gathered outside. Some held up signs in support of Tesla and SpaceX, others had cameras ready, hoping to capture a moment worth broadcasting. Musk stepped out, dressed in his signature black jacket, his expression calm. As he entered, the production team swiftly led him to the waiting room. A large screen inside played highlight reels from Bradley's previous interviews. A tech CEO stammering under pressure over a data leak scandal. A politician turning red-faced when confronted with a sensitive question, and a list actor visibly annoyed by a personal inquiry. Musk watched the clicks carefully, recognizing a clear pattern. Bradley didn't just interview, he hunted. He waited for a guest's moment of weakness, and then attacked relentlessly, ensuring they unraveled on live television. A production assistant walked in, holding a bottle of water. Mr. Musk, we're on in 10 minutes. Musk nodded, adjusting his collar. He wasn't one to be backed into a corner. As he stepped into the hallway, the studio lights were already blinding. The muffled sound of the audience echoed beyond the noise-cancelling panels. From a distance, he saw Ethan Bradley at the host's desk, flipping through his cue cards, occasionally smirking. The game was about to begin. As Musk walked onto the stage, Bradley stood up with his signature smile. Elon, great to have you here. Musk shook his hand firm, unwavering. Likewise, he replied, his gaze locked onto his opponent. The audience applauded. The cameras rolled. Ethan Bradley leaned back in his chair, a confident smile stretched across his face. The cameras were rolling. The stage lights cast a sharp glow over the two men facing each other. On one side sat Elon Musk, hailed as a tech visionary, the man driving humanity into the future. On the other, Ethan Bradley, a master manipulator of the media, the man who had pushed countless guests to their breaking points on live television. Bradley tilted his chin slightly, his sharp gaze fixed on Musk. Let's get straight to the point. Some people say you're a genius changing the world. Others think you're a delusional man with too much power. So, Elon, who are you? Musk smiled faintly, a small but knowing smile. I think history will answer that question. Bradley raised an eyebrow, intrigued. A safe answer. But let's be honest, don't you think you have too much power? You control transportation, space, media, artificial intelligence, even the human brain. Doesn't that scare you? Musk shrugged. I think it's scarier if no one does anything at all. The audience chuckled, some clapped. But Bradley wasn't the type to be thrown off by audience reactions. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice for dramatic effect. But that doesn't mean you can't be wrong. Let's take an example. Bradley flipped over a cue card, scanning it quickly before locking eyes with Musk. You fired hundreds of ex-employees right before Christmas. People cried, Elon. Meanwhile, you flew on a private jet and lived in luxury. Do you ever feel guilty? Musk remained calm, his expression unreadable. What would make me feel guilty is if I didn't cut costs, the company collapsed, and tens of thousands of people lost their jobs. Bradley smirked. So you think keeping the company alive is more important than the people? Musk crossed his arms, tilting his head slightly, his voice steady but weighty. Without the company, there are no jobs. If you try to keep everyone happy without considering the business, that's not leadership, that's fantasy. Some in the audience clapped, others sat still, observing the unfolding tension. Bradley didn't stop. You always have an explanation. But let's be direct, Elon. Some say you're not an innovator, but a market manipulator. You can post a single tweet and make stock prices jump or crash by billions. That's more power than even a president has. Isn't that dangerous? Musk smiled slightly. I don't control the market. I share my thoughts, and if the market reacts, that's because people care. Bradley shook his head, unsatisfied. What about cryptocurrency? One tweet from you can send Bitcoin skyrocketing or crashing. Millions invest based on what you say. Have you ever thought that you're playing with people's livelihoods? Musk leaned forward slightly, his voice lower but sharper. Do you think the media does the same, Ethan? A sensational headline can cause millions to panic, stocks to plummet, even destroy someone's reputation. So, does the media ever feel responsible? The audience fell silent. Some nodded. Others turned their eyes to Bradley, waiting for his reaction. Bradley chuckled lightly, but something in his eyes flickered. I like a good counterpunch, Elon. But this isn't about me. It's about you. Musk leaned back in his chair, his tone still composed. Are you sure? Or is this about how the media manipulates the truth? The tension in the room reached its peak. Bradley realized he was stepping into Musk's territory. But he wasn't ready to surrender just yet. Bradley shifted gears. Let's talk about Tesla. You promised full self-driving, but then accidents happened. Lawsuits are still ongoing. Have you ever thought about responsibility? Musk responded instantly, without hesitation. Thousands of people die every year due to human-driven accidents, yet no one asks the CEOs of Ford or Toyota if they feel responsible. Technology isn't perfect, but in the long run, it will save more lives. Bradley nodded. You always have a logical answer, but is it the truth? Is Tesla really safe? Or is it just a risky dream you're forcing people to believe in? Musk raised an eyebrow. Are you looking for the truth, or just a sensational story? The room fell silent. Bradley realized Musk had turned the tables on him, but he wasn't giving up yet. All right then, Bradley flipped to another page in his notes. Let's talk about Neuralink. A chip in the human brain. Some call it a leap in science, others see it as a nightmare of mind control. Do you really think people will be willing to let a private company implant chips in their brains? Musk slowly nodded. People once thought smartphones were crazy. Now, everyone has one. The question isn't will we do it, but will we do it right? Bradley tilted his head. But what if this technology falls into the wrong hands? Musk shrugged. If that happens, maybe it's better that I take control of it first. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. A moment of silence stretched, then a wave of applause erupted. Bradley realized he was losing control of the interview, and that had never happened before. Bradley leaned back, the smirk on his face now tinged with forced confidence. He flipped another cue card, his sharp eyes locked onto Musk. All right, let's talk about power, Elon. Bradley's voice dropped, adding a dramatic tension. You always claim to be transparent, But even you have questionable connections. You and foreign investors. You and billionaires with political influence. It seems like you're not just changing the world, you're playing a very big game, aren't you? Musk tilted his head, his expression unchanged. Do you want to talk about the sponsors of this show? Bradley blinked for a second but quickly regained his composure. What do you mean? Musk crossed his arms, his gaze sweeping across the studio. You work for a network with billion-dollar advertising deals with pharmaceutical companies, banks, and defense contractors. You sit here acting like the voice of the people, but who really controls your show? The audience stirred. Some whispered among themselves. Others kept their eyes fixed on Bradley, waiting for his reaction. Bradley pressed his lips together but tried to maintain his confidence. Elon, this isn't about me. It's about you. Ew. Musk raised an eyebrow, his tone calm yet razor-sharp. Is it? When you ask me about power, you pretend to be an outsider, but you're not. The media industry is one of the most powerful in the world, and you know that. Bradley clenched his jaw. I don't manipulate anyone. We just ask the questions the public cares about. Musk leaned forward slightly, his voice low but weighted. You ask me if I feel responsible. Now I ask you, do you feel responsible when you manipulate public opinion to create conflict, just to keep your show's ratings up? The entire room went silent. Not a single sound. No laughter. No applause. Bradley opened his mouth to fire back but hesitated. He looked around the studio and realized he had lost control of this interview. Then, a round of applause broke out. Not from everyone, but enough to make Bradley feel the shift slipping through his fingers. The show had barely ended for 5 minutes, yet clips of the most intense moments had already flooded social media. X exploded with posts. Elon Musk just did what no one dared to do, expose the media live on air. Bradley thought he could turn the tables, but Musk shattered his script with a single question. What we saw tonight wasn't an interview. It was a battle. And Musk won. Meanwhile, Ethan Bradley sat in the backstage room, his phone buzzing non-stop with thousands of notifications. He stared at the screen, seeing a post that had already been shared millions of times. The scariest part isn't what Musk said. It's realizing how hard the media tried to control the narrative. Bradley set his phone down, staring blankly at the wall. He had interviewed hundreds of powerful figures, but never had he lost control like tonight. The next morning, every major news outlet in America ran headlines about the interview. CNN, Elon Musk shakes up mainstream media. Is this a turning point? Fox News, Elon Musk vs. Ethan Bradley, who really controls information. New York Times, is the media losing the power it once had? The debate spread everywhere. Some called Musk a genius, others labeled him a master manipulator. But regardless of opinions, one truth was undeniable: this showdown had revealed something far bigger than Musk or Bradley. It had exposed how the media operated. On X, a clip with Musk's statement was being shared millions of times. Do you feel responsible when you manipulate public opinion just to keep your show's ratings up? The comments poured in like a flood. I've never looked at the media this way, but now I can't unsee the truth. The scariest part is realizing who actually controls the information we consume. In a spacious office bathed in the morning sun, Musk sipped his coffee. His phone buzzed with messages from his media team. Record breaking engagement. Spike in interest for AI, Tesla, and Neuralink. Musk didn't respond right away. He simply gazed out the window, contemplating the domino effect this interview had triggered. He knew exactly what would happen next. The media elite would strike back. They would try to paint him as the villain, roll out critical articles, label him as dangerous, arrogant, a public manipulator. But there was one thing they could no longer do. They couldn't make people forget this moment. The moment when millions saw through the game, realized that what they had believed might not have been the truth, and that information wasn't always objective. Once you see the puppet strings, you can never watch the show the same way again. Musk smirked and set down his coffee. He didn't need to fight. He just needed people to start asking the questions.